Hi, everyone. Let's start with a question. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like the entire space was built without you in mind? Now, imagine that for most of your professional career. As a South Asian woman, raised with the dual weight of expectation and ambition, I've had to navigate global rooms where the mic was never mine to begin with. But here's a plot twist. I took it in anyway. Growing up, I was taught two things. Number one, be proud of your culture, but number two, just don't be too loud about it. Whether I was in a classroom in England or in a boardroom in Abu Dhabi, I carried with me a hyphenated identity of being a British Asian, like it came with an invisible manual of do's and don'ts. Don't bring samosas to lunch. People won't like the smell. Don't wear jhumkas to meetings. You know, it looks really unprofessional. And don't talk too much about race. It makes people really uncomfortable. Yet here we are, and here I am, talking about exactly that. But this isn't just about me, it's about the history that we carry. For centuries, South Asians have lived under the colonial rule that not only took our land, but reshaped our identities, dividing communities, enforcing hierarchies, and leaving us fragmented. Even after independence, these divides, whether they were regional, religious, or cultural, continue to persist. We were taught to conform, to stay silent, to navigate the world with an inherited weight of ambition and expectation and caution. And that's the history that I take with me to every room I walk into. But there came a moment when I realized that this weight wasn't mine to carry. This weight was mine to challenge. One of the first times I consciously dropped the mic, I remember, was in my very first jobs. I was sitting in a boardroom with senior leaders. I looked around the table, and not only was I the youngest person in the room, but I was the only female person of color. Conversations were taking place around this table, conversations around diplomacy, global engagement, strategy, leadership. And I remember thinking, they're talking to each other and they're not including me because they think I'm here to take notes. So I challenged the narrative. I said something loud, but intentional. I challenged the narrative professionally, clearly, but unapologetically. The room shifted, leaned out, some leaned in, but the point here was the mic was finally in my hands. You see, sometimes being visible in global spaces comes at a cost. You're either too brown to be mainstream, or you're just not brown enough to come across as authentic. You become the translator of all things cultural, nuances, of everything unspoken. You're expected to explain your name, your accent, your festivals, your existence. And there were moments when I questioned this. I thought to myself, do I downplay parts of who I am to be heard, or do I remain true to myself and speak up at the risk of being silenced? But here's the thing. Every time I chose the latter, I became louder, not in volume, but in presence. Because we talk a lot about representation, we talk about having a seat at the table, but here's the thing. Representation without redistribution, it's just decoration. It's not enough to just be in the room. We need to shape the room, challenge its design, invite people in, people who look like us, think like us, challenge like us. Because in a global world, being brown is not a limitation, it's a lens. And when we center our stories, we don't just take up space, we transform it. For me, my turning point wasn't when somebody gave me permission to speak in a room. It wasn't when the board members gave me permission to speak at the table. It was when I stopped waiting for permission. I launched platforms that amplified South Asian voices. I started SACRED, the South Asian Community for Representation, Engagement and Development, to connect, to represent, to grow South Asian communities here in the Middle East. I started my podcast, What's Brown Got to Do With It, to amplify stories of South Asians. And then I started Resonance, a cultural platform spotlighting our culture, our heritage, events, through storytelling, through narrative, through lived experiences. Built teams that reflected inclusion, not just in HR slogans, but in lived experiences. I hosted conversations that made people very uncomfortable, but in the best way. Because progress is never polite and change rarely whispers. So what's Brown got to do with it? Everything. It's the resilience in our stories. It's the complexity in our identities. It's the rhythm in our voices even when they tremble. It's the power to disrupt, to rebuild and reimagine the spaces that we were once told we're not allowed to be in. Because you see, I'm not here just to fit in. I'm here to drop the mic because I know what I bring to the table and I'm never afraid to flip it. Thank you.
Thank you.